Well, good morning, everyone. It is a real pleasure to be here in my first TRENZ conference as CEO of Air New Zealand. I'm going to share a little bit about our progress on what we're trying to do to sort of put growth at the heart of the company and what we're doing in each of our markets in order to do that. And we believe through our new Go Beyond plan, which is our 5-year growth plan, that we can step change the performance of Air New Zealand, make it much more aggressively growing, and in doing so actually help support the industry do the same as well. So. Air New Zealand, as Martin alluded to, I've been a part of for 18 months. The first period of time I was running the international airline for that 18-month period, and genuinely a really special company, and a company that I think makes a significant contribution to the economy through tourism, through education, through trade and through business. Very much the focus for us as we move forward is all about market development, and particularly within the Pacific Rim region. How do we actually convert those opportunities with potential high-yielding visitors? How do we get into the emerging markets, as Kevin's alluded to already, and actually together, collectively supercharge New Zealand's success? So that's where we want to be and what we want to be about. And I thought I'd try and show you this very short video that hopefully brings that to life. It brings to life our responsibility to New Zealand and to this industry, and also our contribution thus far as well.
There is a strong bond between Air New Zealand and our country, a bond forged by common goals and ideas. Over the past 7 decades, we've worked hard to contribute to the heartbeat of the nation. A study's been carried out by the New Zealand Institute of Economic Research to cast more light on the economic and social impact of this relationship. While many airlines don't see the business sense in servicing airports of towns with small populations, we see it as part of our role in linking the country. We're the only carrier servicing 21 of New Zealand's airports, including small centres like Blenheim, Kirikiri and Hokitika. 84% of the country's domestic passengers travel with Air New Zealand. This is a fact we take great pride in. With around 10,000 staff in New Zealand, our airline is a major employer. In the past 10 years, we've paid over $450 million in dividends to our major shareholder, the Crown. Through our services, we also facilitate over 30,800 jobs in the tourism industry. In 2011, we contributed more than $1 billion of wages into the economy. Many Kiwi firms rely on Air New Zealand's services. Postal and courier businesses account for half the demand of our domestic freight services. We purchase more than $900 million a year of goods and services from other Kiwi firms. Tourists who come here with Air New Zealand inject over $550 million into New Zealand retailers. These hungry and thirsty holidaymakers spend $315 million in cafes, bars and restaurants, and over $240 million on accommodation. 1/3 of all international tourists who visit our shores arrive with Air New Zealand. Those visitors pump $1.9 billion into Kiwi businesses. Overall, we facilitate tourism spending of a staggering $2.6 billion. This makes Air New Zealand a bigger contributor than the entire fruit, vegetable or wool industries. We're proud of the big numbers you've seen here. They help to illustrate the impact Air New Zealand has on the economy. Now we are ready to take the next steps. We believe in our people, and we believe in what we can achieve. This is a journey with unlimited possibilities. It's time to go beyond.
So I hope with that you get a bit of a sense about what we think our role is in the industry, but certainly what our responsibility is to the industry as well. Martin's already started to talk about the National Tourism Plan, and I think that's going to be a great topic of conversation over the next week. But what I'd say is, again, being new to the industry, it's a pretty exciting industry. We're in a pretty unique place, I think, and really on the edge of something truly great. I was just thinking back about it last night and just reflecting on where we actually are, and the opportunity that we as an industry have. We can have a massive impact on our economy in this down cycle that's happening globally. Our government's chosen to spend more money with us, as we've seen over the weekend, and with that comes tremendous responsibility, but it also comes a real opportunity for us to be very good stewards with leveraging that investment incredibly well. We have a bunch of new leaders in a range of different tourism player organisations across the industry who actually want to come together, collaborate, work together in order to actually get it all done. And I think we're uniquely positioned to capture this generational shift that we spoke about this morning that's happening as the world moves from the Atlantic to the Pacific Rim. So if you just take stock of all of that, it's a really exciting time for us to then be sitting back and thinking about, as an industry, how can we create an industry-led national tourism plan that actually aligns all the tourism players, sets some really clear goals, helps us realise the collective potential that's there, and ultimately delivers a really world-class customer experience and visitor experience here in New Zealand. And the question, I guess, for us as an industry is, can we really come together and convert the opportunity? And I think we can, and I know that it's vital that we're actually investing in each other's success in order for that to actually happen. So if I can move a little bit to our markets and give you a very quick flavour of what's sort of going on for us around the world and what we're seeing. If I start with China and Hong Kong, I was recently in China as part of the Prime Minister's trade delegation visit along with Martin, Kevin and Adrian, and I think all of us left just feeling incredibly proud about the strong relationship that exists politically between New Zealand and China, and just how highly regarded the New Zealand brand is in China as a quality brand, and that was just one of the big takeaways for us. A lot of the experts we spoke to said that the economy there will quadruple in the next 4 years, and while we were there, President Xi announced that there would be a move from 82 million visitors travelling outside of China up to 400 million as part of the next 5-year plan. So that's going to happen whether we're ready for it and are ready for it or not. And I think that's quite exciting because you've seen 85% growth in the last 5 years of Chinese visitors, and we've expressed an ambition of, wouldn't it be fantastic in the next 5 years to be able to set up our country to be able to handle 1 million Chinese visitors in that period of time. If I go back to Air New Zealand, in the 7 years since we launched as the very first carrier to start air services between New Zealand and mainland China, we've really refocused our efforts on Shanghai. We now employ 120 staff in China in both our corporate and our cabin crew functions. And a big part of our success in the last year in China has really been about building a strong local management team on the ground there, comprised of locals who are real experts at understanding the customer, have good insights around the customer and what they're needing, very connected to the stakeholders, and certainly well known within the travel industry and able to have strong relationships with our trade partners. On the other side, our Shanghai flights are serviced by local Chinese crew, and we're probably one of the largest foreign carriers with the biggest crew bases in Shanghai or in China. But we deliberately invest in that crew base because we fundamentally believe that they, with their language skills and their understanding of both New Zealand and China, can actually help facilitate that first-time visitor to the country and actually help bridge them into life here in New Zealand. In January, we began operating daily direct services to Shanghai. So we've moved very quickly in the last year since the last TRENZ meeting from 3 services a week up to 7 services a week. And now with code-share connections with Air China, our Star Alliance partner, we're well connected into Beijing, Chengdu and Chongqing. And this code share is working extremely well. And our total business into Shanghai is up 71% this year, which is a fantastic achievement. Our new alliance partnership with Cathay Pacific on the Auckland-Hong Kong route means that we now, as an alliance, fly double daily services into the 2 ports, and then we have a bunch of convenient connections throughout southern China on Cathay's subsidiary Dragonair. So between Shanghai and Hong Kong, that's really the 2 key entry points and gateways for us to continue to build our business around in China. Air New Zealand's is working very hard to harness the power of Chinese celebrities. We think it's a really great way to get ourselves into popular culture within China and actually raise the awareness of the country, and then doing so. People like actress Li Bingbing, television presenter Kevin Tsai, and in conjunction with TNZ, we've worked with Chinese actress Yao Qin to try and cut through and actually showcase what this country has on offer. These are really important sort of marketing initiatives in order to do that. if you think about Yao Chin, she has 45 million followers on Twitter. It's a phenomenal number of people, right, that are actually following her. And when she makes a decision to come to Queenstown to get married last year, and then we start to see, honeymooners coming for the first time earlier this year, that's a really good thing for our business and for New Zealand. Building on romance, we think romance is quite a big theme actually for New Zealand and being able to sell it to Chinese. We're working with Jiangsu TV, who produce the leading Chinese dating show called You Are the One. It's got a celebrity host called Meng Fei. Some of you will be aware of him. But this is an incredible show. It's the most popular show in China. It has 300 million viewers. Just think about that, 300 million viewers. And we're going to produce the show here in New Zealand, and there are over 3 episodes that will air towards the end of the year. So quite an exciting time. I know the biggest challenge for us as an industry is really how do we offer our Chinese guests the genuine Kiwi experience and connections that they're looking for. And for us, many visitors are just coming for 4 days, and the challenge, as Kevin alluded to, is how do we get them to stay for 7 to 10 days to really experience everything the country has to offer and get the most out of their visit. I think in the last 6 months, certainly at Air New Zealand, we've started to feel we're cracking the code of that we think that we have very strong relationships with the trade, and particularly working with TNZ around the Premier Kiwi Partnership Program within China, and then some of the visa changes that have happened. All of that is actually helping to facilitate an independent, high-yielding visitor from China, and that's quite exciting for us as an airline and hopefully for the industry as well. If I can move to Japan, it's a very important market for us. It's a destination that we've been flying to since 1980, and that's when we first started opening up our weekly services there. We now operate daily services between Auckland and Tokyo. We have a seasonal service into Osaka, and while the Japanese market has been in recovery mode, based on our latest sales figures, we think that we will carry around about 90,000 round-trip passengers on these routes in FY13. That's quite a step up from what we were experiencing last year, as Kevin has alluded to already. Big drivers for us at Air New Zealand has been the partnership with ANA and Air New Zealand. It gives us deep sales and distribution access into domestic Japan, and it enables both airlines to connect at the different gateways in Japan and New Zealand to improve access to local destinations. The challenge for us as an industry, and certainly for an airline, will be, as we've seen in recent weeks, the devaluation of the yen is actually impacting on incoming customer demand in the forward months that we can see. And so the challenge for us all is how do we keep working hard at finding the right customer segments and keep stimulating demand from Japan to New Zealand. The good news is that we've launched recently a latest phase of a joint venture campaign with TNZ, and that's all about showcasing the very fun side of life here in New Zealand for Japanese travellers, and particularly 20 to 35-year-old young women, and we've employed social media quite effectively to work on 4 platforms around the outdoors, around city-urban experiences, around food and wine, and around fantasy around The Hobbit. And the good news is in the October to December period, we saw almost an 11% increase in 20 to 29-year-old Japanese visitors coming to New Zealand. And that's really important because these are repeat visitors to this country. And if we can get younger people captured early, the lifetime value of that traveller is worth quite a lot to us. If I can move to North America now, North America is one of the mainstays of our network. We're the prime carrier, carrying traffic between New Zealand and North America, and we're committed very much to offering affordable and convenient air travel with greater connectivity. And over the northern winter period, we're going to be increasing our services between Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Vancouver by over 9%. And Air New Zealand customers can certainly look forward to a much better ground experience at Los Angeles Airport in the coming year. After a very successful trial, largely led by our Los Angeles airport team, we've been able to work with US Customs to streamline the transit process so that people can actually access and move around the general terminal area and access our lounge much quicker. Our customers are going to see a much more enhanced experience in LA moving forward because we'll be relocating from Terminal 2. You're right there with the water, lads. Terminal 2, off to the new Tom Bradley International Terminal, which is going through a massive makeover. $1.7 billion US being spent on Tom Bradley International Terminal, and we'll be moving there later on in the next year. And I think the other big thing for us is that we're going to be designing, managing and running the new Star Alliance Lounge in Los Angeles. It's going to be 3 times the size of our current terminal, state-of-the-art facilities that will really be a very, really good thing, including an open-air terrace and a lot of exciting sort of venue there. So as we move forward, Auckland, Los Angeles, we're going to be increasing our services over the northern winter period from December to the end of January. That'll lead us to 16 services a week, 3 services on Thursdays and Sundays, and double daily every other day of the week, again about a 9% increase. And then we're also making improvements on Auckland, San Francisco, where we announced last month that we have signed up for 2 brand new 777-300s, and we'll be deploying those into San Francisco as we retire our older 747 fleet. And that'll be happening from July and October next year. The first 777-300, which we run on the Auckland North American route, has been really successful. It's proven to have great fuel efficiency, really good passenger comfort, and certainly lots of award-winning in-flight product and service, whether it be Economy Sky Couch, our Premium Economy Space Seat, and our Business Premier Lie-Flat Bed. And from mid-2014, we're going to be undertaking a major refurbishment of our other 777s, which are the 777-200s, and we're spending $100 million refurbishing 8 aircraft so that they're all to the same standard across the whole of our network. And that will mean that the Economy Sky Couch, for example, now will be available on both the 777-300, the 200, and ultimately the Dreamliner from the middle of next year. As I mentioned, the middle of next year, we actually take from the second half of next year, we take delivery of 3 of our 10 new Boeing 787-9 Dreamliners, and we're the global launch customer for that aircraft, and that's going to be genuinely quite a game changer for us from both an economic point of view and certainly from a customer point of view as well. And the good news is you're starting to see, as Kevin showed, really good growth in inbound passenger numbers from the US, which we've started to see in this quarter. In recognition of the fact that customers may want to experience a range of destinations, I'm pleased to be able to announce today that we're introducing the New Zealand Explorer Pass. This is available exclusively to residents of the US and Canada, travelling on Air New Zealand services to New Zealand, to Australia and to the Pacific Islands. And what that pass enables the travellers to do is to purchase between 3 and 10 flights using zone fares to maximise their time while they're in the South Pacific. If I can move to Europe, in the past year, we've celebrated 30 years of flying to London, and flying to London's been quite challenging for our business economically for some time, and so our key focus has been really on how do we improve the point-to-point traffic between London and Los Angeles, and our results have been quite impressive. Our transatlantic traffic has increased from 49% of our passengers on the route to around 60% of the passengers on the route being point-to-point traffic in the last 12 months, and that's led to a massive increase in market share, passenger numbers and certainly profitability for Air New Zealand. Earlier this year the team cemented the point-to-point message with a unique marketing campaign that partnered with the Guardian newspaper to hold the first UK ever live dating show, aptly named Blind Gate, at London Heathrow on Valentine's Day. And then if I can get a bit closer to home, which is really around Australia, we are working really hard in Australia to drive dual destination traffic to our region. So while most of our focus is on mono destination traffic coming in, if there's traffic in Australia, we want it here as well, in addition to what we're doing to drive mono destination. And our Tasman Pacific Island services are going from strength to strength, which is good for Air New Zealand and good for the industry, and largely through to the seats to suit structure that we have that enables us to offer a range of price points and product service on the one aircraft. And then also through the Virgin Alliance partnership that we have, we're able to offer our customers greater frequency and connectivity with access to 34 ports across the country in Australia. And then last week we announced that we are commencing services twice weekly, direct service between Christchurch and Perth, and so that's quite an exciting piece as we link up the last 2 cities in Australia and New Zealand that need direct services. We expect that our capacity across the Tasman will increase by 4% in the coming year, and that's largely driven by the introduction of 777-200s on Auckland-Perth, increased services to Wellington, Sydney, and the introduction of a seasonal service to the Sunshine Coast. And I'm pleased to also announce the Alliance will operate at least 30 direct Trans-Tasman services to Queenstown during the upcoming peak ski season, compared with 9 weekly services that we offered, say, 5 years ago. So, that equates to more than 30,000 additional seats between Queenstown and Brisbane and Melbourne and Sydney. We've seen quite a lot of increased demand from the Tasman in the last year, and that's in big part due to the marketing campaign called the Kiwi Skeptics. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but it's really about taking Australians who say they really want to come across the ditch for a break but never really make it, and what are the triggers and barriers that stop them from coming. And so we've formed a sort of a reality style web episodes that takes a bunch of Australians that are intended to go somewhere else, and we redirect them to New Zealand and give them a little bit of a shock as to what's here and what they can do while they're here. And that campaign has generated over 66% increase in the number of Trans-Tasman seats sold compared to the same period last year, and it broke all previous online sales records. We had over $1 million worth of sales for 3 days in a row as we ran that campaign, as we tried to get Australians to rethink about New Zealand and the potential of what it has to offer. And then finally, if I can move to the domestic area, to support domestic tourism, we are working really hard to invest in our domestic fleet. It's really important if an international visitors here and they're travelling throughout the country, or those that are domestic tourists, really get a quality experience as well. And so we're really, we've accelerated the introduction of our A320 aircraft, which are much larger, more pleasant, more fuel efficient, and we expect to have 2 more entering the fleet in June and August this year. We've also long demonstrated our commitment to New Zealand and regional New Zealand, with the number of regional seats have increased by about 40% in the past decade. We've carried around 4 million passengers on our regional routes in the year ended February. And we have 7 brand new ATR 72-600 aircraft coming, the first of which arrived in November to help service the regional ports across the country. And we're refurbishing our ATR 72-500 fleet as well. And that all just means that we have capacity that enables us to trial new regional routes, like we've just announced around Nelson and Palmerston North, as we have extra capacity in the system. So in closing, I'd just like to say, Air New Zealand is a small airline in the global aviation world, and in a world of 4 million people countries, I can't think of any other national airline that is not just surviving but is actually thriving. And I think we perform extremely well relative to larger airlines with much larger size and scale. We've got lots to be really proud about, but the time, frankly, is for us to now build on the foundations that we've built over the last 10 years and put accelerated growth at the heart of the company. It's time for Air New Zealand, and certainly all of the industry, I think, to sort of stop looking in the rear vision mirror about where we've come from and aren't we great, and actually start to look out the front windscreen and actually say what's the opportunities that we see moving forward, and how do we go convert them and hunt in a pack in order to do so. And for us, it's time for us at Air New Zealand to really go beyond where we've been in terms of the customer experience we're offering, in terms of our marketplace execution, in terms of our operational intensity, and certainly in terms of the way that we develop our people as well. So I'm quite excited about the future. I genuinely think the stage is set for all of us to achieve bigger things for our businesses and certainly for the country along the way. And finally, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for your support of the airline over this last year, but continued support as well. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.